Will now convene to close session. Board will now convene open session and report out from closed session. Live streaming on YouTube will begin now for the open session of the Board of Education meeting. The URL for YouTube will live streaming may be found on the NHUSD Board of Education website. If you are joining us online via Zoom webinar, you would like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise hand option in Zoom. If you are calling in by phone, press 9 and wait to be called on. Community members may still provide public comments to the board prior to each meeting via email at public comment at nhusd.k12.cal.ca.us. There were no comments provided to the board for tonight's meeting via public comment email address. I would like to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments relative to closed session items 3.1 through 3.4. There was no action taken by the board. But for item 3.5, the board took action in closed session by a 4-0 vote to approve a settlement agreement between the district and a student's family. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. May I have a roll call, please?
Goodman.
Here.
Khan.
Here.
Canlis.
Here.
Ishihara. Shima.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Troy Mallory.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
So.
We just need a second and then, and we can get to discussion, so,
Okay, I'll second.
okay, discussion.
I think there was a request to, Mr. The items in the front. I think that was, yeah, item 8.1, 8.1.
Okay, so we'd like to move 8.1 in front of, public comments,
Yes,
7.1.
8.1, move it before 6.1 and 7.1, so.
Dr. Thompson, you were
Yes.
gonna say something?
No, that would be removing the recognition of Veronica Diaz. I have 8.1 prior to public comment.
So,
okay. No, well, hearing, no objection, we will move that. Accept the agenda with flexibility.
Yeah.
If we can actually just, given, all in favor by raising their hand, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay, unanimous. All right, so now we are on, 5.4, land acknowledgement. Is there, any trustee that would like to read that? Oh. I don't want to, fully comment.
I can read it. We want to open up this meeting by acknowledging with respect and love that the land we are on today is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Ohlone Choctaw First People. We recognize and thank the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. Indigenous people must not be spoken about in past context as if they left on their own efforts when the real causes were white supremacy, manifest destiny, and U.S. colonization. For recognizing we stand on the occupied indigenous territory of the Ohlone people, we recommit ourselves to listen to Native leadership and stand in solidarity with people struggling against systems of oppression throughout the world, past and present.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna jump to 8.1 on our agenda. So at this time, the board would like to recognize Veronica Diaz from Guy Manual Elementary, and I'll turn over to Dr. Thomas to go ahead.
Yes, we're happy to be able to share some good news on Veronica Diaz is a campus monitor at Guy Manual Elementary School, and she's been there for 6 years. And earlier, actually late in September, she noticed a student choking and performed a Heimlich type of maneuvers on the student and stopped the kid from choking and saved his life. So we are here to thank you, Ms. Diaz, Ms. Diaz, are you here?
Yes.
Why don't you come forward, please? I don't know if you have anybody, but so this is Ms. Diaz right here, everybody. A lot of times, a lot of our employees don't, they just do their jobs every day. And, and when everything goes well, nobody notices, but occasionally, we remember why our employees are here and they do something spectacular. So thank you very much. And we have some flowers and a certificate for you.
Mr. Puckett.
You want to go in the middle? Yeah.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. We have a couple more. 1, 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're gonna jump back to 7.1. Yeah, public comment, public comments and procedures. Yeah, 6.1. Okay. So the blue cards on these are blue cards are on topics that are not on the agenda. And you must submit the blue cards speaker request form to our the superintendent's designee before the board meeting begins. And once the board meeting begins, no additional blue speaker request card forms will be accepted. Okay. Are there any speakers via Zoom that wish to address the board on topics that are not related on the agenda? Please raise your hand.
There are no, oh, we have one speaker. Mary Gonzalez.
Okay, Mary Gonzalez, you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Mary Gonzalez. I wasn't aware that I was allowed to turn in the blue form. Do I still have to, or can I just address the topic real quick?
You can these are topics that are not related are on the agenda. Yes, you can.
And so my topic is in regards to a paper that was submitted in my daughter's 10th grade class, titled Shower Power Man. It is speaking about a man who is just described jacking off by 5th grade girls. And she was asked to describe what's going on in the story. what is Michelle describing when she was actually describing his private part. I know the teacher's on leave, but as a parent, I need to know what further action is going to be taken to protect my child for what she's learning in your guys' classroom.
Okay, we're not allowed to respond.
Okay, so what steps do I take next?
We're not.
Oh, you're not allowed to respond. I get it.
at this
Oh,
time.
okay, got it. Okay, thank you. I guess I'll look further into this for the next meeting and be more prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go to our blue cards at this time.
We have one more Zoom speaker.
Oh, we have one more Zoom speaker, okay.
Myra Hernandez.
Okay, Myra Hernandez, you have 1 minute.
Hello, this is in regarding to the same situation that Mary Gonzalez was speaking on. And I just wanted to make the comment that as a college student now, those types of materials are exactly the types of reading materials that we read in college and university classes. We as college students are expected to be able to maturely handle these exact conversations and be able to contribute to the class discussion. We have the reason that we have these discussions in high school is because we're young enough to have never have had them in a professional or academic setting, but old enough to start learning how to handle them. Perhaps it would be beneficial to add an introductory conversation to tell this to the students and to make sure that they know the purpose of having these conversations. And also to make sure that they know it's okay to speak up if they do not feel comfortable, and even prompt that discussion of why they may feel that way and what can be done about it. But it must be emphasized that progress is and
I'm sorry, time is up.
Okay.
Are there any Zoom?
No
No,
more speakers.
no more speakers. So we'll go to the blue cards.
Okay, we have, for not on the agenda, we have 4 blue cards. And the first is Mr. Jim Navarro.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. Honorable board member and hardworking staff. For those who doesn't know me, my name is Jim Navarro. I'm a former school board member for 8 years and 12 years as a city council member across the street. A total of 20 years serving my community. As a school board member, I spent many hours in this building dealing with confidential matters, union negotiation, budget cuts during the Guy Emanuel and Good McKenna era. My life was even threatened here because the parents didn't agree with the way I voted, and many more, too many to mention. We also had many victories such as high school graduation rate, the technology bond building, the Logan Field, the performing arts theater, and much, much more. Myself and my fellow board members, whom I serve with, seriously respected the position that we were elected to by those who elected us to oversee the education of their children. I took this trust with me across the street.
I'm sorry, time. Thank you.
Can I continue? Or
I'm sorry, we want to honor equity. We have a lot of speakers.
okay. We're gonna pass an invitation right now.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Reverend Brown.
That's name.
Okay.
Yes. First of all, good evening to everyone. Good evening to everyone. My name is Reverend Jerome Brown. I'm the senior pastor of Brown Temple Community Church here in Union City. And I was approached by the Dakota Empowerment Group for some issues that they would like to address to 2 trustee members of this board. And they asked me if I will be the overseer for this meeting, and I agreed to oversee. So I gave out the invitations, but we only need to invite 2 of you because of the Brown Act. And we wanted to invite District 2 trustee and District 3 trustee to this meeting. It's very imperative that you be at this meeting because there are some concerns with the citizens in District 2. My church is in District 2, and I have been approached by this, and I think this is something that seriously needs to be addressed about accountability in leadership. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So I hope that you can be there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker.
I get my glasses here. Oh, Lisa Rodriguez.
Good evening, all. I would say that I always liked and respected the teacher that's at the center of this controversy. And I will say that initially I was shocked and taken, shocked at the assignment. Now, taking a moment, stepping away and diving further into it, I found that this body of work was approved curriculum and has been used for the past 4 years. Now, our teachers on administrative leave and students are confused and are fighting for their teacher. I will say this, students should never have to defend a teacher on a curriculum that was approved by our governing body, our district's governing body. Superintendent, I say this to you. How and why are approved materials being investigated? Dr. Thompson, you have a responsibility to the students and this community to share that the material was vetted and approved. Parents want answers. They want answers that only you can give. How could this have been addressed? Moving forward, what can we do to address this situation from happening again? How can this be handled differently? Doing this could help diffuse a very tense situation and probably bring some calm to the storm. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is. Sorry, glasses. Angelina Flores.
As one of the many students here that is here to represent the teacher, I find it important to sort of emphasize the fact that this teacher is not just a teacher to us. He is so much more than that. As a teacher from the Puente service, he's family to us. He truly cares about who we are as people, not just students. He gives his number to all of the students just to make sure that we have a space to express how we're feeling, because he truly cares about our feelings and our mental health. That's not just a good teacher, that is a good human being. Thank you.
Those are all the speakers. Those are all the speakers on, not on the agenda. We have for 6.1.
All right, so we'll go to 7.1. Okay, are there any blue cards for topics on the agenda? And I see a stack over there. How about can we jump to Zoom? Are there any speakers via Zoom that wish to address the board on topics on the agenda?
There are no speakers.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll go back to those blue cards.
Okay. First speaker is Natalie Perez Leon.
I'm going to be talking about the teacher as well. That's our center of controversy. I have this teacher for 2 years, and I did have him as a support system. My family wasn't really there for me. He was the father figure I never had in my life. I had genuinely considered suicide, and if it weren't for him and supporting me, I would have committed suicide. And I had not considered college at all, so he motivated me to continue my education, wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I got a full scholarship. And letting go of this teacher would mean many students would also lose the support system. So, yeah.
Next speaker is Alvaro Gonzalez.
I'm Obra Gonzalez. I'm also here to talk about the teacher. As a Puente alum and JLHS alum, class of 2018, I think what is happening to the teacher is frankly quite disgusting. The teacher has been nothing but a paragon of, excellence and professionalism whenever he's dealing with his students. He treats them as human beings, as a young adult that they should be treated as. The teacher understands and respects their students' ability to think and act for themselves. This is why when the teacher assigned the controversial assignment, the first and foremost at their mind was the student's ability to critically think and analyze the passage as literature, not as mature rated content. I do not want a moment of misunderstanding or misrepresentation to prematurely end a sadly very, very passion for teaching. That's all I have to say.
Melissa Gutierrez Perez.
Good evening. So I would like to share my take on the situation regarding teacher in the Puente program. The character of the teacher has been nothing but positive, caring, and supporting to the students. He's an advocate for mental health awareness, and he has been an asset to this Puente program. I'm beyond grateful that my son has had the opportunity to have him as a teacher. And at the end of the day, this material has been approved by the Puente program nationally and approved by this school board. Thank you.
It's Jonathan, and I'm sorry, your last name, I can't read it. Is it tech, if you with a T, okay, that's, sorry, Jonathan.
Good evening, board. My name is Jonathan Tecanwewe. As a former class of 2022 Puente alumni, as a most recent graduate, I can most definitely say that this teacher is by far one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. Besides supporting me, besides being a friend, he's a genuinely amazing human being. As all my colleagues have said, he has helped mature us, prepare us for college, outside of being the Puente board, but also as being a good human, supporting us in our times of needs, supporting us when we feel our lowest, making us never give up or at times give up our lives. As they mentioned, the material has been approved by the Puente board, but besides being a Puente teacher, he is also here for Logan. The fact that there were so many Logan students taking his classes that he has touched, whether it's in clubs or credit recovery programs, he always puts our students first. Our safety, making sure that we feel comfortable in this class, providing us nothing but pure happiness per se, to make us feel confident in ourselves, to continue our educational career, to continue to become better human beings.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sandra Garra, soy madre de una estudiante de Puente. Mi hija entró al Puente porque tengo familia, comadres, amigas que han estado sus hijos en el programa, y todos los que he conocido con familia y eso han hablado muy bien del maestro Mijares, que en lugar de ser maestro es un gran amigo para ellos, es un gran apoyo, que cuando lo buscan a ellos cualquier cosa que necesiten, él está ahí, siendo usted en la escuela, fuera de la escuela, cuando ocupan ellos, ahí está. Y realmente es injusto lo que están haciendo, que sea por un libro, porque ahorita en este tiempo, hasta mi hija de 8 años está consultable, y en YouTube e Instagram salen cosas que nosotros como padres a veces no podemos detener lo que están viendo, ¿verdad? Como yo le dije a mi hija, desde que entró a Logan, ella ya va creciendo, ella sabe lo que está, ya está grande para saber qué es bueno y malo.
I'm sorry, time.
Ya está.
Next week, Devin Lovato.
Good evening, board. I'm a recent graduate from 2022 from the Puente program. The teacher in particular has allowed me to believe myself and have my doubts about my dreams. even when people would tell me that I couldn't achieve them, he told me not to let fear stand in my way. Even if you aren't in the Puente program, he has students who are not, and he treats them just the same, he supports them through anything. My cousin, who's not in the program, who is worried about if she's gonna graduate, he's able to help her get credits and believe in herself. And I'm able to believe in myself more regardless of doubts and negative self-talk, and because of him and his support that other students are able to experience a teacher who will support them through anything. Thank you.
All right, Joseph, second.
So, I am also a recent 2022 Puente alumni from Logan, and I've been lucky enough to be the teacher student for 3 years from my sophomore and senior year. The teacher is a good-natured person by heart. He's always checking up and making sure all of his students are doing well, whether it was related to their health or even their educational career. When I was his IA during my senior year, he would always come up to me and ask how my classes are going, how I'm doing, showing that genuine concern and curiosity on my well-being, something many teachers really don't take the time to do. The teacher's also a hard worker. He dedicates all of his time to his students and their success. As others have already said, he does credit recovery, giving students second chances when there are others who won't give it to them. Students who deserve a second chance will lose that opportunity, and their future will be at risk if he is removed. If he is also removed, this jeopardizes a source of help for many students as they depend on him for his guidance and his class as a safe place. Thank you for listening to me.
That's it, Devon.
Hi, my name is Alexia Galara. I'm currently a junior at James Logan High School, and I'm in the Puente program. I'm in the teacher's first period U.S. history. These news have not only impacted my academic life, but as well as my personal life. This teacher has done so much for me and plenty of other students. He's always been someone I know I could talk to and not get judged for what I really feel. He's someone that has always cared about his students' mental health and had made sure to know that whatever we're going through, we're not going through it alone.
Next, is Jennifer Espinoza.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Espinosa. I am a junior at James Logan High School, and I am also a Puente student. The teacher is supportive, understanding, and caring. He has helped my family and friends during difficult times, especially with my family. He was always there, supporting my family and our decisions as well. The teacher has supported every student in his class inside the Puente program and outside the Puente program. The teacher should not get fired because of the book, especially when books are written to be read and learned. The teacher has always been there for us, and as he always says, that we are his familia, and that through bad and good times, we should stand together. Now we are all here standing for him and supporting him through this difficult matter. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Okay, hi, my name is Elsa Chavez, and I graduated from Logan in 2019. While I was at Logan, I was a Puentista, which is how I know the teacher in question. He supported my learning during high school and wrote one of my letters of recommendation that got me into UC Berkeley. I'm sure those around me would agree that he goes above and beyond as a teacher and mentor to encourage our academic success and personal development while respecting our individual identities and boundaries. I want to remind the board and any concerned parents watching from home that the text assigned was recommended by the Puente Project and has been taught at your school for 4 years now. I stand by his choice to integrate literature by people of color into his classroom full of students of color. In general, I believe that literature by people of color is worth reading and definitely deserves a space in your classrooms. Thank you.
Next speaker is Gabriel Lopez.
hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Lopez. I'm a senior at James Logan High School, and I've been this teacher student for 2 years, and I'm currently his instructional aide. First off, I want to thank everyone for being here, all the superintendents and board members for giving us a chance to speak our voice. In this situation, I feel like the students' voices mean a lot since it's us students who are in the classroom that spend time with this individual. This teacher is a perfect example of what an outstanding teacher is. Not only does he teach his subject, but he also gives us important life lessons along the way, like taking the time to explain how paying bills works. But he also goes above and beyond his job and takes students' mental health seriously. I don't think I've ever had a teacher that has created a learning environment that's so crucial to so many students. Sometimes I feel like mental health is set aside in the school and it causes students to feel lost in this world. Taking away the support system would be as devastating to not only the Puente program, but to the school as a whole. He's a community leader and an outstanding human being. By taking a look at the amount of students who showed up today, you can see how important he is to the community. I know more students would have showed up if it wasn't for them moving away to college. I want to thank all of the students and parents who ended up showing up for support for this teacher. Losing someone this important would forever leave a missing spot, not only the school, but the community as a whole.
Okay, sorry, can I have the reason?
Having a class with a teacher changed my life in every possible way. I'm not in Puente, but he was my favorite coloring teacher, and I'm his TA. He taught me how to properly interact with people, from one side and another of the struggles I've encountered daily. And even took the time to make sure I ate breakfast because I never bothered to look out for myself that much. But he's very unique because he goes over 100% of his students to make sure they all feel safe and comfortable, no matter what the topic is. I don't see this specific book as a valid reason to remove him as a staff member because there are far worse books I've read that are accessible in the Logan Library. One called How Kitty Must Die and Identical. Both include worse explicit content such as sexual harassment, masturbation, and domestic abuse. So please reconsider this. Thank you.
Julia Vergara.
Good evening, board members. My name is Julia Vergara, and I come here as a Puente alumni from the class of 1985, and also as the Puente Executive Director. When I brought Puente here about 20 years ago, one of the reasons I brought it here was because I wanted to ensure that the community that I grew up with, which was Decoto, had access to what other students did because it wasn't always like that for the Latino community here. I also brought it here because I knew it would thrive here and it would reach, it would help achieve our mission, which is to help students go to four-year institutions. As the executive director, I'm also here just to support the teacher and to support the work that the Puente program puts out there. I have to say that I'm a little remiss and I'm a little emotional being here, that this is the alma mater. I am very proud of being a Loganite. So it's very hard to know that I'm here having this conversation about a book that represents the Latino community and that shares stories about where we come from and who we are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fatima Moreno.
Hello, my name is Fatima Moreno, James Logan High School alumni, a Puente alumni from the graduating class of 2022. I would like to address that this book has been read at Logan for the past 4 years, so I don't understand why it's an issue now. I would like to also mention how great of a teacher he is. He's always there to support all his students whenever they need someone to talk to. Thank you.
All right, I'm having trouble reading this one, apologize. Last name I think is Hartman, and first name I think begins with a K. So can you say your first name, please?
I go by a different name, actually.
Oh.
My name is Kevin,
Okay.
Kevin Hartman, and I would like to say my personal experiences with this teacher. He was my teacher last year for World Studies. I am currently a junior, so he was my sophomore World Studies teacher. He this teacher is one of the biggest reasons I'm still walking on this earth today, and I would like to say what a big impact he has had on my life. The entirety of my time at Logan, because he was also my current makeup teacher. I'm not part of Puente, but for all students, not just Puente students, he has had a huge impact on everyone. Not even just the students, just everyone in general. He is so down to earth. He takes everyone seriously. He treats us with the respect that we deserve. He doesn't treat us by like just his students. He treats us as if we are friends, even family. He takes everything we say into consideration. He is a great person. Thank you.
Alondra Martinez.
Hi, my name is Alondra Venegas Martinez, and I was a graduate of 2020, and I'm in Puente, or I was in Puente. This teacher has been there for me during my darkest times in my life. I trust him, and never once has he ever made me feel uncomfortable. I see him as a mentor, as a friend, and I still to this day, still keep in contact with him. He often comes and visits me at my job, and we talk about life, and I confide with him. He is a very good teacher, and at the end of the day, he was just doing his job. Thank you.
Helena Castro Ulloa.
Hello. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone for being here. So I just want to start off by saying that this teacher is the greatest teacher I've ever had in my entire life. Even my third year in college, I could still say that. This teacher for me provided nothing but support the whole time I was at Logan. He always made me feel heard and made it known to all of his students, not just me, that he was there for them for anything, whether it was outside the classroom or in the classroom. He provided support for me in my darkest times. When I felt like I couldn't keep going, I knew I had him to count on. He was an amazing teacher, and I know the type of person he is. You will never find an educator like him. Thank you.
Joshua De Miguel.
Good evening, board members. My name is Joshua, and I'm a class of 2022 graduate. First, I would like to say that I'm a thank you to the board and parents for our concern for our safety. But I can assure you that our well-being has never been put at risk by this teacher. The comments online that have been circulating have been spreading clear misinformation with baseless claims and proven censorship of info. I was in an instructional aid firm last year, and he would tell all the students, "I love you" as soon as class ended, and constantly remind them that he's here to support them. I also want to mention that this book was recommended by the Puente State Board, and you could reference that on the Puente Project website. This book has been taught for years, and there's been absolutely no problem beforehand. So if there's any problem, I suggest you contact the Puente State Board and not punish the teacher. I want to conclude by saying that there are so many students that have reached out to me, too many to count, that desperately wanted to show up today. But they happen to be at 4-year universities. This goes to show just how lasting of an impact he has and how he uplifted them to the next level in their lives. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comments. We're gonna go back to our agenda. We're on 8.2. I just want to thank everybody who came out. You're welcome to stay, but we're gonna go ahead and continue with our agenda. Next is we would like to welcome our city manager, Joanne Mallory, to provide a presentation on the city's measure green renewal extension of the city's half-cent sales tax.
I'll give folks a moment to adjust.
Just remember, guys, the superintendent is the one that's liable for all of this. He knows what you guys are reading and not reading. So we shouldn't punish the teacher for doing his job. Period. Drop the mic.
I'll give them another 30 seconds. Is that okay?
Yes, can you give us a 30-second bio real quick about for those?
Sure, I would love to. My name is Joan Malloy, and I'm the city manager in Union City. I've been city manager since July of 2019, where I took the helm. We had a cyber attack. I don't know how many of you remember that, and then we dove right into COVID. So it's been pretty crazy 3 years. I'm here this evening to speak with you about Measure Z, which is renewing local funding. This is really an informational presentation, and I really appreciate you giving me the time to talk to you about Measure Z. So I want to start with Union City and the community that we live in. You know better than anybody that we have a highly diversified community. But we are also blessed with an outstanding quality of life. We have a very strong economy. Some would argue sometimes too strong, in that it puts housing prices out of reach for some. But it is a world-renowned location, and we're all very fortunate to live here, go to school here. It is a great place to do business and to raise our families. I want to tell you a little bit about our local funding that is set to expire. For the past 12 years, we have had a half-cent sales tax in place that has provided the city with a bit over $6 million a year to fund local services. It was last renewed in 2014 by 73% of our local voters, and it is set to automatically expire. I want to share with you a little bit of budget information about the city. Our council uses a 10-year budget and forecast model to project revenues and expenditures in the years ahead. And this model is looking at the expiration of that half-cent sales tax. And as you can see, while we're doing just fine right now above our general reserve line, without the half-cent sales tax, it will push us into deficit spending. And of course, our council would likely not take that direction, so it would result in the cut of services. I want to spend a little bit more time, and I know you're probably more educated than most of my audiences around the funding and how services are provided. But the general fund, which is essentially the city's checking account, is how we fund our police, our fire, public works staff, our recreational services, our youth and family services, which are partners with the school district, come from those general fund reserves. Our primary source of funding for the general fund is property tax, followed closely by sales tax, which Measure Z is a part of. It is then, of course, hotel tax. It also contributes to the general fund, as well as business license tax, franchise fees, and other sources of revenue. So it's really our property tax and our sales tax that are the bedrock of our general fund in providing services. And I know many folks also, residents, think that they do pay their fair share towards city services when they pay their property tax. But most people don't know that the city only gets 17 cents on the dollar of every dollar of property tax that are paid. You probably are aware of that because you get 19 cents on that dollar. The county gets about 24 cents and the state 29%, 29 cents. 11% it goes towards BARD and other special districts. So the city is relying upon a small amount, 17 cents on the dollar, that creates that property tax band that you saw on the previous diagram. So what does that mean for Union City practically? Well, it means that generally in the Bay Area, we tend to be on the bottom end of our general revenue expenditures per capita. This was a diagram that was done in 2020 before our new census numbers came out, so it would be a little bit different today. But Union City still tends to be on the bottom end of that diagram, showing that we have less per capita general fund dollars to spend. Some of that, there's lots of different reasons for that. We have a small regional commercial square footprint, which is mostly Union Landing. That's our biggest sales tax generator, right? We only have 2 freeway entrances and exits. So we have limited amount of land to build out that has sales tax. We are a largely residential community, so that while our residents do buy things, we're not collecting, as I mentioned, a lot of retail sales on businesses where the sales tax is charged. So in order to preserve our services with the essential financial forecast that we have, our city council unanimously agreed to place Measure Z on the 2022 ballot. And as I mentioned, it's a 0.5-cent sales tax, which is 50 cents on every $100 of purchases. And as I also mentioned, it goes to providing those basic services, predominantly public safety, because that is the largest expenditure of any city's budget. That's police, fire, paramedics, across the board. So this really goes directly to keeping fire station staff, keeping our 911 services going, maintaining our police patrols. But it also, as I mentioned, goes to public works, which has to do with maintaining our street infrastructure, also maintaining our parks, preserving emergency disaster programs, which was very critical during the COVID outbreak, as well as supporting our senior and youth programs. So it is a critical source of revenue for the city. Just to talk a little bit about accountability, essential purchases such as groceries and prescription medicines are exempt. There are no taxes charged on those items, as you know. All funds do stay local. It does not go to the state and cannot be taken by the state. There is an independent citizens oversight committee, which met as recently as last night. And as I mentioned a little bit, shoppers and visitors pay their fair share. So everybody that goes to Union Landing and buys something in Union Landing contributes to our local services, the revenues for our local services. And Union Landing goes as far north as deep into Oakland, well into Fremont, and even draws upon folks from across the Bay of the Peninsula. So that concludes my informational presentation. And if any of you would like more information, I can make that available, either people or materials. It's all posted on our website. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to share this information. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Questions?
Yeah, that funding mix that you shared, is that a typical funding mix for municipal governments in the area? 40-something%.
It would not be uncommon. Some cities have a much larger base of retail sales than you could pick Emeryville, for example, which has a very large destination mall and a very small amount of residential population. So they're really driven by their retail sales. They probably have a much larger sales tax. Other cities might have other sources of taxes, such as a real estate property transfer tax. We do not. San Leandro has one, Hayward has one, Union City does not have a transfer tax. So they might look different if you have a high, on that chart you saw Palo Alto at the high end. They have a substantial office market, very high property values. So I would expect their property tax base is also a bit stronger. They also have other sources of revenue, such as utilities, which we do not have.
Yes, go ahead.
What is the plan? And because it seems like we had, that the voters had just renewed a sale. It feels like we're always renewing. It's not necessarily true, but it always feels like we're renewing sales tax measures. Is there a plan to provide a stable source of revenue that is not based on sales tax, or is this going to be something that we are going to continue to have to renew every number of years?
You know, our council has always been reluctant to put a forever tax in place, even though it did full well. They have always wanted to look for alternative sources, looking at economic development. You may be aware that we approved our cannabis tax. That is proving to be a good source of additional revenues, but it is not adequate to cover the $6 million. You're right, we did come back to the voters with regards to the user utility tax. That was because the public safety parcel tax did not pass. We used to have a public safety parcel tax that was directed specifically at police and fire. Unfortunately, that's a 2/3 majority vote and we missed that threshold. So the council reevaluated, and so you're right. They have come back. Hopefully, this will give us some time to really think through additional revenue sources that perhaps we haven't identified. And of course, economic development is always at the top of that list.
I just want to piggyback, I'm sorry about this, on trustee Nishihara about that. I was gonna ask that same question about generating some revenue for our city. Because it makes our job, when we go out for bonds, when we try to advocate for fixing our dilapidated schools, improving them. You know, that's one of the concerns of our citizens, that we pay too much in sales tax here in Union City. Their taxes are too high. Is there, do you know the statistic as far as comparable to the other cities around us in Alameda?
Sure, I do. We have, it's, I think 10.75 is the number. That's the same in Hayward, San Leandro, Newark, off the top of my head. Emeryville has a slightly smaller sales tax. Most of that, as I mentioned, we're half cents, so that is 50 cents on $100 of purchase. The county has, I want to say 3%. The state is around 8%. The county has about 3 cents on the dollar. There's transportation, BART funding in there. So we're just one piece of the pie. The state, again, I want to say is about 7%. We do get a Bradley, it's called the Brandon Burns pass through. So we do get some sales tax back from the state. But a good portion, again, are from revenues beyond our, or taxes beyond our control. We have no control over what the county might pass in other regional agencies.
Thank you. Trustee Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. I've noticed that we have a lot of warehouses here in Union City. I'm wondering if there's a plan to redesignate those for businesses that would generate more revenues.
That's these are all really great questions. Those warehouses could be turned over at any time. Our zoning ordinance is quite generous and allows an intensification of uses. Office buildings which do have a higher property tax base would be ideal. We have difficulty controlling for businesses that might be retail sales tax generators. Those property owner decisions, they're made at the property owner level, right? We're not involved in leases and that sort of thing. We also, as you may have heard the term about the whole discussion about Amazon right now, and Amazon warehouses and everything that we love to buy online, looking for warehousing that is close into the urban areas. We have no capacity in our warehouses. Property owners are getting top dollar for the lease rates on their warehouses, and it's very hard for them to give up lucrative full properties for something that they may or may not have a market for. So we would love to see more intensification. We'd love to see higher land uses. We'd love to see more job density and more retail sales and property tax.
One other question. I think I know the answer to this one. We don't have any more land left, do we?
That, you know, everybody being residents of Union City, you know that's true. Union City is actually 18 square miles. Half of our city is actually in the hills, but there's what is called a hillside area plan in place that significantly limits the amount of development that can happen. There is some allowance for residential development, but it is not a lot, and most of that land, just because of it is in the hillsides and the complexity of getting infrastructure up there is really limited. So the land we have available for economic development is truly the flatlands between, essentially, the Baylands just beyond Union City Boulevard to Mission Boulevard. That's really our opportunity to redevelop. You probably also know that because of the housing situation in California, cities are mandated to provide capacity for housing. So we're in the process of doing a housing element, which is actually requiring us to redesignate commercial properties to allow housing as directed by the state. So it's a real balancing act, trying to maintain those employment centers, maintain those commercial uses, and provide a density of housing and the amount of housing, over 3,000 units for Union City, that we need to provide on behalf of the state.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you once again for allowing me to share my information. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we will have a presentation on the 2022. This is the CCEIS, and this is the Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services, and it will be presented by Mr. Pisani.
Hi, good evening. This evening's presentation will be facilitated by our Director of Special Services, Sarah Kapler, and our Director of Student Services, Marcus Wayne.
Good evening, Vice President Gonzalez, Board Trustees, and Superintendent Thompson. Tonight, Sarah Kapler and I will be presenting our Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services Plan for 2022, which we refer to as CCEIS 2022. This is the third plan that we have developed as a result of New Haven's data showing that we continue to over-identify our African-American students for special education services in one eligibility category, other health impaired, and also for continuing to over-suspend our African-American students who receive special education services. Each CCEIS plan lasts for 27 months. So as you can see, our three plans overlap with each other. With the first plan just sunsetting, our second plan continuing through the end of September 2023, and this third plan is set to begin this winter and ending in September, at the end of September 2024. While each plan is different, all three plans are built on one another to further develop our practices to reduce disproportionality. As I said, we're on our third plan, and you might be wondering about the progress we've made. Keep in mind that each plan lasts for 27 months. So as we reported at our last board meeting, we met one of two goals. Despite the first plan ending, the actions of our 2021 and 2022 plans continue to build on the first. In addition, New Haven believes that this work is not just required of our CCEIS plans, but the right work to do in order to be more equitable and less disproportionate. In developing this CCEIS 2022 plan, we went through a process that included meeting with focus groups of students, parents, staff, and administrators. We analyzed qualitative data gathered from these focus groups and quantitative data, which included academic, behavioral, attendance data, to name a few data points. We identified root causes leading to our disproportionality, created goals to measure our progress towards being less disproportionate, and created action steps to help us meet these goals. From there, we presented a draft to our educational partners group, which was comprised of parents, administrators, and staff, to receive and implement feedback to finalize the plan that we're presenting to you this evening. With this being our third plan and each plan focusing on the same area of disproportionality, the root causes have not changed. However, after analyzing and reflecting on the quantitative data from our parents and student focus groups, we recognize the need to refine one of our root causes. The root cause on the left of the tree previously read, a need to create meaningful relationships between African-American students and teachers that address implicit bias in the school system. Upon reflection and analysis, we recognize the need to refine this root cause. We decided to individually identify the lack of culturally relevant pedagogy and a need to address implicit bias in our system. In addition, we recognize the need to focus on the responsibility of our staff to create meaningful relationships with our African-American students, rather than place the responsibility on the students. In creating our measurable outcomes, we kept our objectives the same: to reduce the number of overall referrals to special education by 10%, and to reduce the number of suspensions by 10% of our African-American students with disabilities with receiving special education services and African-American students in general. The purpose of the CSACE plan is to provide interventions to our students to prevent over-identification and over-suspension of our students, African-American students. In doing so, we are required to provide specific interventions to a focused group of students who are African-American, but not solely African-American. So thus, after analyzing our data, including our equity report card, which was presented at our last meeting, we have identified the following students to focus. Firstly, the first focus group are African-American students and Pacific Islander students in grades kindergarten through third grade who did not make 3 or more levels of growth on their literally reading assessments, as those to receive interventions to disrupt the pattern of over-identification. Our second focus group will be comprised of African-American students, Pacific Islander students, and Hispanic students living in the Dakota area who had at least one suspension during the 2021-2022 school year. To present the action items that we plan to implement, I'd like to introduce Sarah Kapler, our Director of Special Services.
Right, thank you, Mr. Lamb. As we look at the action items, you'll see a strong connection between tonight's proposed plans and our 2 plans that we discussed at the previous board meeting in 2020 and 21. While we are still disproportionate, the work is both systemic and individual for students. At the last board meeting, you saw the data showing that work is starting to show forward progress. As a result, you'll see many of the action items that we're recommending tonight will also deepen the work we have already started. We also note that each of these action items is an area of focus for our Division of Teaching and Learning and also our site leaders. We will continue to work on improving our MTSS support at school sites with teachers on special assignment. We'll connect the work of the equity councils at the sites to create site-specific actionable goals based on academic and behavioral data to implement and monitor progress through the year in order to improve academic and discipline outcomes for our African-American students. We'll continue to provide case management for our new focus students. Each year we develop a different group. We'll continue to support academic enrichment and interventions for our new focus students. Our Union City Family Center will support focus students as well as our African-American students who are chronically absent and utilize the district cost team to identify the support needed for the family to increase attendance at school. We'll review the African-American students eligible for special education under the category of OHI or other health impaired to ensure that the IEP team has the most up-to-date and accurate information to support the particular student. We're going to continue to provide ongoing professional development to our secondary schools to support improved staff and student relationships. We're also going to use our case manager to facilitate a student leadership group on Logan's campus to support the climate for students, which will include discussing potential issues prior to incidents that would require disciplinary actions, and develop actions to support the Eliminate Hate campaign at Logan next year. And lastly, we are going to plan SEL at the high school level. The last board meeting, you heard that we currently have a plan for K-8, and we'd like to bring our high schools into this as well. We intend to develop a plan to implement SEL at the high school level. So in terms of next steps, you can see a link to the full page for the full plan. It is 72 pages long. The next step, if the board approves this, is that we would submit it to CDE by November 1st. We expect to hear back to them to be able to start working on our plan in the winter. And then that will carry us through 27 months, as Marcus also pointed out. Thank you for your time and consideration of the approval of this plan. We also appreciate the work that the Department of Teaching and Learning and our site principals have done to implement the systemic supports in our schools. We believe that this work will improve our practices, result in better outcomes from our students, and interrupt the pattern of disproportionality. Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Your comments, go ahead.
Thank you. That's a lot. A lot of plans and action items. I've forgotten some of the things shared earlier. Right now, what type of culturally relevant PD do we give our staff?
So this year is already part of our adopted plan. I think you know that each site has a multi-tiered system of support, TOSA, and they're very involved in site equity council work, professional development work, and really reviewing the tier system to make sure that our system is culturally appropriate. In 2020 plan, we did create guidelines looking through that lens, and that has been released and is posted on our website. In our 2021 plan, we began to really work with our principals to help them understand it. And then the next phase is to utilize these TOSAs to work with our teachers and provide professional development.
Okay, sounds good, because I know in some districts, those are one of the biggest things that they cover early on to make sure that every teacher and educator is culturally responsive to the needs of their students. And I'm looking forward from a distance to see all those action plans becoming reality the next few years. And I like the part that it overlaps, because then you don't have a gap in between. Thank you so much.
Hearing no other questions, we can. Okay, so I just want to thank Mr. Vazani, Ms. Kepler, Mr. Land for your presentation. So very informative. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on.
This is actually.
No, it's just discussion.
It's an action when we get to the action section.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action items. Great site, Brand. This is
Information.
information.
Right.
Thank you. 9.1 required quarterly report regarding complaints filed under the Williams complaint procedure 2022-2023 quarter one. Mr. Vazani.
I can address this. This is just a quarterly report. We had no complaints. Nothing.
All right. Wonderful. 9.2 items from the board and the superintendent. I would like to start to the right and move our way down, if you don't mind, and say the last few. So I'll go to the our student representatives if they want to go first, or I can go to trustee Collins, and then we'll come back to you with the. Are you ready to go right now?
It's just a few updates.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Recently, there is a meeting this week actually for a equity mural at Conway Carabello. There's not much information yet, but there is a plan and a set of ideas, and it's going to be like set in stone maybe after like for Snow Week.
Thank you. Okay, student representative, comments, go ahead.
So I'm a little bit under the weather, so my voice is a little hoarse, just apologizing for that. But I just have like more updates on the ones that I mentioned on the previous board meeting. So the past few weeks, the leadership and all student volunteers have been working on were decorations for the building. We came on Saturday for about like 6 hours and decorated the main areas of the school with decorations that are centered around like the class themes for the year. We're currently in the middle of our spirit week and students and staff are dressed up based on the themes, which have been fun and interesting. Homecoming rally leadership is working on getting dances and games ready and finalized for our homecoming rally, for which we'll have like a rally day schedule, so classes will be shorter. It is this Friday on October 21st. With that, later in the evening, we'll have our homecoming game against Tennyson, and we have a beach themed student section. And then lastly, we are looking forward to having our tangle themed homecoming dance on Saturday, October 22nd from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, trustee Adams, are you ready?
Yes, I am. I was just checking my calendar just to make sure I don't miss anything. I'm just resharing that the Saturday, October 22nd, we have the passe celebrating Filipino American from 5 to 8 o'clock. And then we also have one on October 29th at the same place, Saturday, 1 to 5. So both celebrations are exciting because they do different things. It'd be nice to see everyone at both of these events because the presenters are completely different from the other ones, and it's a great learning opportunity. And I will share, so October 20th, that's 2 days from now, ask for a meeting via Zoom. And trustee Mallory has, I think has given that information to, no, okay, so hopefully she could send it to you before this Thursday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Nishihara?
Thank you, I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Trustee Jim, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I forgot myself, so I don't have a list of the activities I have been attending, but I remember that last Thursday I had my missionary ROP meeting, and then there's nothing special to report, but only thing I was coming to my mind that I have been serving on that committee for a long time, and then I was just thinking, oh my God, who will be serving on the committee in the next term? So one thing I would like to mention is I was participating in a meeting, community meeting, and some of the parents, they were talking about that how New Haven charges or asks the parents to go for fingerprinting and TB testing and 9 years to become a volunteer in our schools. So I was thinking of if we need to take a look on our policy for our parents, how we handle those, because that deters our parents from becoming volunteers in our schools. So I don't know what is the current practice, or do the parents, they have to pay for that fingerprinting and TB testing, or how does that process work? So I hear that with the crowd there that I will take this issue with the staff and find out what we can do about it. So other than that, as we know that our term is ending, and I just want to express my appreciation and thankfulness to our staff, my fellow board members. It has been a up and down 12 years. We have seen it all. When we first started in 2010, me and Trustee Carlos, situation was very dire, cutting the programs and everything. So I remember that, you know, waking up in the night and it's, oh my God, what I got myself into. And then, but I appreciate now the situation is much better and teacher strike was very stressful time for me personally, and I'm sure everybody involved in that situation. So, I remember serving on the strategic plans in early 2000s and becoming active in the community after 9/11. I never knew about the government or politics or, you know, elections. All this stuff being a science major, I never studied, never participated. So it just was an adventure. And as I have finished my last assignment, having the 40 questions with the person, you know, last 2 weeks back. So it was up. So everything is good, just appreciation, nothing else for our district. And I am glad that being an immigrant family, we were able to settle our roots again in this community and raised our family and still raising. And I still have a strong belief that our school system is one of the best school system. And I will continue to make it better the way I can. I'm not going away. And one thing I would like to mention is when we started the Nabi language program around 2004-05, I spearheaded the community effort at the time. And Lori Valdez, she was the secretary of Logan High School, and she was the secretary, one of the secretaries serving to world languages assistant principal Mr. Lang. And I would go there many times, and there were other secretaries, but her face and her manner left a big impression on me, and she was always so supportive. She never had, you know, frowned upon, or she had so much patience. Every day, say, okay, sit down, I will check with Mr. Lang or, you know, principals. And relatively speaking, so we were still new to the system and how, you know, how this course got approved and all that process. So I really appreciate your support, Ms. Valdez. And I never knew that we will be serving in this capacity. I will be serving as a board member. So everything is good. Just want to express my appreciation. So when I got first elected in 2010, I made the history. I was the first Sikh woman elected to any public office in the United States. So University made the history, you know. And news were all over the California, United States, even in the Indian newspapers that, you know, our school district is famous. Right now, because of that education to the community, that we need to get involved into their kids' education. At least I can count on my fingers. We have around more than 10 Punjabi community members serving in, you know, Tracy, Madera, Fresno, Natomas, Sacramento, Yuba City. So people are becoming more active. There is a community has roots. You know, we have a seculariness resolution coming up. It's more than 100 years. So they have taken the roots and they're becoming more active into the. And I do believe that education is the key to improve our communities and also bringing communities together. You know, creating unity, appreciating dignity of all communities, immigrants or regardless. Just want to express my appreciation for this chance, and this was the highest honor of my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, just like to take a point of personal privilege. It kind of hit me sitting here as you know, we got only like one more meeting with Trustee Conlas and Trustee Chima. And it seems like I just got to know them, you know, and they're gonna be gone, and I'm gonna have some strangers up here that I have to get to know again. And so you know, you both of you being mentors means a lot to me, and it saddens me to see you go there. So a couple updates on the things I've been up to in the last, since the last board meeting. I know I mentioned Cesar Chavez boys basketball team losing there, but they actually made it to the championship game, and I went to that on Thursday. It was Cesar Chavez versus Castro Valley. This was the championship basketball game. Unfortunately, they lost. But during my time, it was the three middle schools. They had Alvarado, well, New Haven, Bernard. The names have changed. IBC, CCMS. Sorry, Cesar Chavez, excuse me, Cesar Chavez Middle School. And so just had them. So they opened it up to all the way from Newark, Castro Valley, to San Leandro, San Lorenzo, and so they beat all those teams and made it to the finals. They lost to Castro Valley by a couple of points, but nevertheless, they made it there. And so very proud of my nephew and all the players who played such a great season. Even the director of sports was there in attendance. And then I also had, over the weekend, I had a meet and greet for Trustee Gonzalez. And unfortunately, that was kind of dismal because I blame the Niner game was happening. That's why low attendance and the weather didn't bear out. But I do plan to have more of those events. Nothing like being outside, a little barbecue and some snacks or whatnot. And then actually talking and getting to know folks in person. So I do plan to have more events like that. Pending weather and never on a Sunday during football. So that concludes my report. And now the big news here, Superintendent, your report. Thank you.
I don't have much today. I'm just looking forward to going to the homecoming game on Friday night and the two upcoming events for Filipino American Heritage History Month. Pase's event this Saturday, the 22nd, and the Fonz event on the 29th, and that's it for me. We do have the lactation policy that we have. The board has been with board revised it, and I just wanted to add that we now have for any employees out there an FAQ that goes along with it. So if there are any expecting mothers out there or new mothers, and you want to know about our policies related to that, the board has changed that around. And you can contact personnel for more information about that.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to committee reports. This is the 10.1. This is the and we should have that updated, I believe. The Budget and Finance Committee is now the Budget and Finance. What was our other? Did we revise that?
We haven't decided.
Oh, we haven't decided. Okay. I'm jumping the gun there. But our next meeting, November 15th. Okay, so. And then the Communication and Advocacy Committee, Trustee Nishir.
Yeah, so we had one scheduled for last Thursday. It got canceled, and so our next meeting will be on November 7th.
Thank you. All right. 10.3, this is the Policy Review Committee. Our next meeting is November 9th, 5:30. That concludes my report. Any other committee reports?
Yes, CSBA Delegate Assembly, just wanted to let the board know that there is going to be a 2023 Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip. It is going to be April 24th through the 26th of 2023. When we get to the consensus item, I will request consensus from staff to at least authorize me to attend the event as a CSBA delegate, but I'll mention that when we get to consensus. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any other committee reports?
I think SELPA is having a meeting, but I don't have my phone with me, so I don't know the date. When SELPA, there's one meeting coming up.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it is. My calendar, I got signed out of my calendar, so I can't access that, so I don't know.
That's fine. That's it.
Okay.
I've already shared ASPA for Trustee Mallory, October 20th.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on to our action items. May I have a motion and a second to approve the special education significant disproportionality comprehensive coordinated early intervening services plan 2022?
Move.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, only discussion, may I have a comment, I know we got the presentation that, hopefully we will make the improvement, then we don't have to go through this process, right?
Mhm.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, all in favor, you can raise your hand. Okay, all opposed? No. Okay, unanimous. Next one. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to this is a resolution numbers 018-222.
11.2. Program assistant and program additional job descriptions.
I apologize. All right, may I have a motion for 11.2? This is approval of program assistance and program enrichment job description for Beyond the Bell.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all in favor, you can raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. Okay, may I have a motion and a second? This is resolution number 018-2223. This is Native American Heritage Month.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Usually there is a tradition that we read the resolution.
I'm sorry, you asking a question?
Usually we read the resolution.
Okay, is there anybody like? Okay, trustee comments?
The New Haven Unified School District Resolution number 018-2223, Native American Heritage Month, November 2022. Whereas Native Americans are descendants of the original indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States. And whereas Native Americans were the first stewards of our environment, attributed to the unique identity of California, represented the early voices of the values that define our nation. And whereas prior to European colonization of the Americas, indigenous people of California thrived with a vibrant culture and society. And whereas Native Americans were the first human inhabitants of the land that is now Alameda County, and their culture is richly interwoven with the Alameda County's diverse social fabric. And whereas the Ohlone Chochenyo people inhabited the lands from the San Francisco Bay to the lower Salinas Valley, including what is now Union City. And whereas Native Americans continue to contribute measurably to our history, diversity, economy, and culture by distinguishing themselves as academics, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And now therefore be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District Board of Education recognizes and celebrates November 2022 as Native American Heritage Month and encourages our communities to participate in appropriate observances with activities that celebrate and commemorate Native Americans as a symbol of hope and courage to all citizens. And be further resolved that the New Haven Unified School District will work to support academic growth and cultural pride of Native American students in our district and county. Passed and adopted this 18th of October 2022 by the following votes.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. Okay, may I have a motion and a second? This is for 11.4 resolution number 019-2223. Seek American Awareness and Appreciation Month, November 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I would like to read the resolution. Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to read this resolution. The New Haven Unified School District Resolution number 019-2223 2223. Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month, November 2022. Whereas California and our nation are enriched by the unparalleled diversity of our residents, and whereas among this unprecedented diversity in California, there resides Americans of Sikh origins whose population comprises nearly 40% of the nation's estimated Sikh population. And whereas Sikh immigrants have resided in California for more than a century, with the first Sikh immigrants having labored on railroad construction projects in the lumber mills and in agricultural heartlands of the Sacramento, San Joaquin, and Imperial valleys. And whereas while Sikh Americans have distinguished themselves in numerous areas of endeavor, they have demonstrated particular success in the area of agriculture, trucking, medicine, and the creation of small family-owned businesses. And whereas Sikh Americans have served as members of Congress, mayors, judges, city council members, school board members, soldiers, and scientists. And whereas the Sikh and Punjabi American communities of California continue to make important contributions to our state and nation, and whereas Sikhs and Sikh Americans have made important contributions to the social, economic, political, and cultural fabric of the New Haven Unified School District, Union City, California, and the United States of America. And whereas the faithful service of the Sikhs and Sikh American community to this district, city, state, and country merits appreciation as an integral thread in the fabric of American plurality. Be it resolved today, the New Haven Unified School District Board of Education seeks to recognize the diversity of this community and afford all members the opportunity to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history and shared experiences of Sikhs and Sikh Americans. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Haven Unified School District recognizes November 2022 as a Sikh American Awareness and Appreciation Month, passed and adopted this 18th day of October 2022 by the following board. Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All of those in favor, you can raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, pass unanimous. Okay, we're gonna move on to 11.5. May I have a motion and a second to approve the 2022-23 comprehensive school plan, school safety plan?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, so I am gonna go ahead. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say, thank you to all the people who worked on these, safety plans. I know they're really boring to read but they're template. If you know what's in it already, you just go directly to the part that you want to zoom on. For example, the suspension rate, the attendance, and so on, and you could just look at the part that you're interested in looking at, because it's the same thing for all of them. But for the people who wrote them and worked on them, I know we spent so many hours, having done it myself, on putting it together and collecting the data. So I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know it's one of those things that are really not fun to do, but they're very important. As hopefully we don't need them, but they need to be there to make sure that our kids and our community, school community, is safe. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Yes, trustee June.
So, again, thank you so much, staff, for going through this exercise and updating our school safety plans. I would like to remind our student board members, so this is a good reading assignment for you guys, because you will see that what's happening in our schools. And in the past, student board members, they have found some things that which they thought, they need to be improved. So it's not, please take a look, and then maybe you will find out something which is not appropriate or need to be improved. Thank you.
All right, at this time, go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, will you raise your hand? Opposed? Okay, passed unanimous. Okay, we are on 11.6. May I have a motion and a second? Consideration of physical education PE waiver for DSIS. PLA student number 1.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, discussion?
well, we had, one discussion.
Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, you can raise your hand.
All right,
Opposed? Okay, passed unanimous. Okay, that brings us to. This is 11.7. May I have a motion and a second ratification of agreement of West Coast Strategic Consulting Services for anti-bias grant writing. This is 2022, 23.
I will
Second.
Discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, if you can raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. All right, now we are on consent agenda items. Are there any items which trustees would like pulled for separate vote? Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 through 1.12. 0.212, excuse me.
12.1 to 12.12.
Yes, 12.1 to 12.12.
So moved.
second.
Okay, discussion. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, you can raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. Wow. Okay, we are on, sorry. That's a lot of, we are on the discussion and action. I'm sorry, the governance review is for assessment. Are there any comments on the governance procedures and protocols? Trustee Thomas.
I just want to thank you for stepping up and facilitating tonight. Good job. Thank you.
Same thing, seeing the, number of speakers, so depending on thank you.
Okay. I want to, I really like the, raising a hand, all those in favor, as opposed to the, roll call there. No, Mr. McNamara, likes that. Okay, so this is our, board consensus. Are there any, board members requests? Okay, trustee Nishara.
Yes, as I mentioned in my committee report, I would like the board to authorize a travel and registration for Coast to Coast, which is the federal advocacy trip for CSBA. I will be going as a New Haven Unified School District trustee, as well as a CSBA delegate. Registration cost is $675 until January 15th. Travel is still yet to be determined in terms of the cost, but I'd like to see if there's consensus for the board to send me there.
So, yeah, I don't have any,
Hold on, so there is consensus on there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on.
there is consensus. I was just wondering that I thought CSB they fund this, check.
No, individual school districts send their own, or send their own trustees.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
All right, so are there any other board requests this time? Right, we'll go ahead and conclude this meeting at 8:12.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.